While many anime fans have a tendency to follow along each season for their favorite shows, I'm pretty picky about what shows I'm willing to start, and even more picky about what shows I'm willing to keep watching. Spring 2019 brought quite a few golden experiences to audiences around the world, so I thought I'd take a moment to talk about which anime caught my eye this season. Each one of these shows, for one reason or another, gets my seal of approval, and is at a point where you can just jump in without having to wait week to week to see the next one. Let's get started. The first of my picks for spring 2019 should come as no surprise to anyone. If you know me, you know I love Jojo. Part 5 in particular has had a stellar adaptation. To this date, this may be the best Jojo anime has done at giving different characters the spotlight and adding more depth to their character through voice and movement, particularly La Squadra. Part 5 was never my favorite part of Jojo, but the anime has done a great job of making me like this part way more. Not only that, but the animation has been very full of life and just really nice to look at. David Production really captured the soul of Part 5 extremely well in this adaptation. The biggest criticism I have comes as a result of the shonen format. The original manga often will feature long dialogue boxes of text, and normally this isn't a problem when you're looking at a manga, but when you're dealing with a fight scene in an anime, a character having enough time to speak several sentences before their punch connects, it's always been kind of jarring to me. That aside, the classic formula of figuring out creative ways to overcome the enemy stands and challenges ahead is alive and well in the annals of Golden Wind. Watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Wind if you want to see fabulous fights and character animation that tells you a story with perfect voice acting to go along with what you'd imagine the characters sound like. Next up on my list is Attack on Titan Season 3 Part 2. Now, Attack on Titan is another huge favorite of mine that, for those who know me or my content, shouldn't really come as a surprise to be on this list. The entirety of this season wraps up many of the questions people have had about the franchise ever since the first season aired, and it does so in an excellent way. The pacing and structure of this season is, in my opinion, actually superior to the original manga, and that is in many ways to the credit of the production team. The narrative behind this season is coherent and very easy to follow, and it presents a really gripping final conflict that also provokes questions about the meaning of things like sacrifice, devotion, and the willingness of those faced with unbearable choices to commit to a decision. This season also finally delivers the long-awaited answers of what's in the basement. For many, the truth will probably lead to more questions, but for those who read the manga, the excellent adaptation from manga into anime has given both longtime readers and anime-onlys an extremely satisfying experience that both celebrates the strength of Isayama's characters and his long-spun narrative. Studio Wit has dedicated their hearts and delivered on the long-awaited payoff, and they've done so with an art style that also manages to capture Isayama's original drawings more than ever before. I really can't recommend this one enough. Unlike the other two anime on this list, Rise of the Shield Hero is a series I had no prior exposure to, and ultimately, it ended up on my radar after enough different people sang its praises to me. The premise is simple enough. The protagonist is teleported into another world where he's destined to be one of the 4 chosen heroes. Unfortunately for him, he's not given the same privileges and wonders that typically await protagonists of these kinds of stories. Now, while this story hits many of the main points of your typical isekai, it differs thanks to the events and circumstances surrounding the protagonist, our titular shield hero. The narrative circumvents many of the pitfalls of the genre and manages to leave them far behind with a much more serious approach to the difficulties of adjusting to the unexpected challenges before him. Despite the many easy opportunities to pander or exploit characters for the sake of fan service, we're given a much more somber and down-to-earth take on how a person thrown into a situation they didn't ask for must work from the ground up to make peace with their circumstances and find a way to overcome the adversities in their many forms. Now, as a viewer, you empathize with his struggles and desperately root for him to finally get justice, while those who wrong him repeatedly earn your scorn. For a breath of fresh air in the isekai genre, look no further than Rise of the Shield Hero. Now, as I mentioned before, each of these shows has come far enough along in their respective seasons to be watched straight through from start to finish without much interruption. But if you're like me, the shows you love most won't always come from the most current season, so as a little bonus, I'll be giving you one last anime worth checking out from the past.
The guys that appear in this anime are delinquents. Please, do not under any circumstances imitate anything they do. Don't do it, man. I'm serious. No, bad idea.
The slice of life genre has long been a staple in the world of anime and manga, and the bancho archetype has been explored up and down, but few capture the spirit of delinquency quite as delightfully as Sakigake Cromartie High School. Cromartie High in many ways could be considered a parody worth taking seriously. Through the eyes of lead character Kamiyama, viewers are welcomed to the hallowed halls of Cromartie High, a school attended exclusively by badasses and bruisers who know nothing more than the life of being delinquents. Despite this setup, what follows is a consistently funny masterpiece that to this day remains one of my all-time favorites. Cromartie High gives the viewer a chance to look into the daily life of bonchos, overcoming the absurd challenges of keeping up your image, dealing with rival gangs, and coping with car sickness. The cast, which includes a man eerily similar to Freddie Mercury, as well as a gorilla, constantly keeps the fun going for a quick viewing any time of the year. The last thing to know about Crow High is that with this show, you can rely on either dub or sub and have an equally enjoyable experience. For me personally, I actually do prefer the dub. There's a perfect balance in the acting choices between goofy and serious that to this day still brings a smile to my face. With that, this wraps up this first installment of Stanpai's anime picks. I hope that after checking this video out, you found a new series to sink your time into. I know for me personally, finding a new anime that's worth sitting down and committing myself to isn't always the easiest thing, so here I am with a season where I actually have 3 different shows that I was interested in following. That's not very likely at all, nor is it likely that I'd have both Jojo and Attack on Titan going at the same time, so for me, it's been a great anime season, and hopefully, for those of you who haven't seen these shows, you'll give them a shot and you'll be able to say the same. A big thank you to all of my patrons over on patreon.com/Stanpai. I really appreciate all you've done for me and your continued support. If you'd like to join them, please visit patreon.com/Stanpai and sign up there. Aside from that, please click like and subscribe and all the other usual stuff, and if there's an anime you watched this season that you'd love me to check out, please leave it in the comments below. I'd love to see it. Until next time, this is Stanpai. Arrivederci.